Good morning from Erlebnispark Tripsdrill.
Yes.
Adventure Park Tripsdrill, and from this point forward it will be just called Tripsdrill.
Tripsdrill. Yes. We are Loops and Lap Bars International, and if you're still with us, this is the last day of our first continental trip of the season, having done Europa Park and Rulantica for the best part of the last week.
Yeah, it feels like a long time ago since we first walked through the doors of Europa Park. But here we are in Tripsdrill, which is the opposite end of the scale. And I don't mean that in like it's a bad thing. Having a wander around, it seems very traditional.
It does.
In a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of at the moment, it's a cross between for me, a cross between sort of Polton's Park because it's family run, but also at the same time Efteling because it's a bit woody, bit magical. Bit of a mystery tour to get here as well.
Yeah, lots and lots of back roads, which is not so great in that wide German Mercedes. But anyway, we're going to the park, and it's not a waiver that you sign, but essentially it's a bit of paperwork that you sign to say that you're okay to record on the rides. Done very professionally, but also quite casually.
Yeah.
Do like that. Didn't feel like I was signing my life away or anything like that. I keep the piece of paper, you hand it to a ride operative, record on the ride, and then you get it back at the end. Not sure why they do it like that rather than just checking it, but not going to complain. It means that we can record on the rides because there's some absolute stonkers here by the looks of it. But we did start the day, of all things, on a Gerstlauer Skyfly. What are we calling it? Hugenflug, which apparently translates to soaring. Yes. And it's a Gerstlauer Skyfly. In the same vein as all of the Skyflies that we've been on, though I did find that one to be particularly difficult to get spinning. That could be because I'm still aching from Rulantica. Because there was two other guys on there that got 26, 27, where I only got the one spin. But I'll be honest, I wasn't really trying to spin loads. Just one nice casual ride.
For our first ride of the day, Queue Line, insanely pretty, and it basically tells the story of a German
it's like a German inventor or a tailor.
And tailor, and essentially sewed together two sort of wings, attached them to themselves, and jumped off a building. Hence why it's got a bit of a sewing theme.
Yeah, it's peculiar because it does imply that it's based on almost like steampunk-esque flying.
Yeah.
But yet when you go through the queue line, it shows you tailors and things like that, and the ride vehicles have got
little stitches on.
Stitches, buttons, and scissors, and it's just whimsical. And I think that's going to be a theme of today. Whimsical. So that's the first one. And the next one that we've been on is Gugelhupf Gaudi Tour, which a Gugelhupf, from what we've just literally Googled, is a type of cake. And it is in keeping with the theme of the ride, because we're just looking at it right now. And there's bakers in the middle. The ride vehicles do look like cake mixtures, and it is essentially a waltzer. Yeah. Which makes perfect sense that it's a cake mixing machine. Yeah. The rough translation is Gugelhupf.
Fun tour.
Yeah, fun tour. And I'm not sure if that's what it actually means, but it was a fun little ride. I don't normally particularly like waltzers or anything like that. I don't think it is a traditional true waltzer, but the cars did have a decent amount of spin, but not too much.
They did, and I am going to go back on it later to see if I can get the thing to spin pretty much all the way around, because I have a feeling it is a half-decent waltzer, but it is first thing in the morning, and there was only me and Dave in the car, and to be fair, I wasn't pushing back as much as I could, because I know Dave doesn't like too much spinning.
I like a little bit of spin, but I don't like too much spinning. I much prefer head over heels spinning to round and round, which kind of explains why I like top spins and skyflies so much, because they're much more enjoyable in my opinion. But anyway, time's rapidly approaching. It is 10 to 10. Park open at 9 o'clock. The big coasters don't open until 10 or half past, and we're right by, if you can just see that, Karacho, and I'm hoping that that's probably going to be our next one, because Karacho is the big one for me here anyway. Launched Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster. Heard really good things about it. It looks really good. Can't wait to have a go on that. But there's all sorts of other things to enjoy as well. So we'll go around, get some rides done, and we'll update you in a bit.
Yes.
So as promised, next one was Karacho. As expected, it probably is a one and done for Tracy.
Oh yes, very much so.
It's a Gerstlauer launched Gerstlauer Infinity coaster, and I don't really know what I'd liken it to, because it's not
It's
really.
kind of a blend, isn't it? It's a bit
Yeah.
of a hybrid between kind of Icon, Smiler, and a couple of others thrown in for good measure.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of elements on that are very reminiscent of elements on other coasters. There is a hidden element on it, which don't look it up. Just go and
Yeah.
ride it, because I didn't know about it. I knew about Karachi and I knew about the launch and stuff like that, but I didn't know about the hidden element, and it was wonderful, and it made the photo turn out the way that it did. Anyway, as for the ride experience, the restraints are very tight. They're
Yeah.
not the most forgiving compared to some of the other Infinities that we've been on. They do have a test seat in the queue line, and the test seat is quite well themed as well.
Yeah.
It's sat in the like the carriage of one of the old sort of motor cars that they have on one of the car rides.
Yeah.
Anyway, it rides very well. It's very comfortable. There's very little sort of what people are calling Gerstlauer rattle, I think it is.
Yeah,
Very little of
no,
that.
I must admit, from my perspective, it was very smooth, and I managed to find a hold, or at least something that I could hold on to at the back of the seat, which I preferred doing a little bit more, but maybe that's something Gerstlauer should start doing for people that are not fans of clamshell restraints.
Yeah, because I know that the
I'd have much preferred over the shoulders for that.
I know that
first off.
the Gerstlauer clamshell that comes towards you is very reminiscent of the Mack one that comes over your head. And the one that comes over your head has got two sort of holdy handles on it.
Yeah,
I'm not bothered.
And you could probably hold it at the side as well, the ones
Yeah.
that come over your head like
I'm not too bothered. I can just hold on to the clamshell myself. I don't put my hands up in the air 'cause I don't particularly like that on roller coasters. But yeah, that one was absolutely fine. I think it probably is going to be the best here. I don't know whether it's going to beat the suspended thrill coaster that we got here, which I think it's pronounced Hals-über-Kopf.
Yeah.
I'll try to pronounce that a bit later on when we talk about it anyway, because we are going to have a go on that one as well. Next in line, I think it's probably going to be Mammut, which is just behind us, just there. And this one seems to be something like of a unique coaster. It seems like the manufacturer, which I've got to get the name up, has only built or designed this one coaster. They are responsible for building Boulder, Colossus at Hyder Park, and El Toro, which is, I find that quite interesting. But anyway, all three of those are Intamins, so I'm hoping that there's some Intamin DNA in that. So we're going to have a go on that. Maybe get some re-rides and catch a bit later on, and enjoy some of the other rides around in the park. So I'm going to talk about Mammut now, or Mammoth, as it would be when translated, which is, and I'm just reading it here, it was made by a company called Holzbau Cords, and Gerstlauer supplied the trains, brakes and control systems. So it's Park Gerstlauer wooden roller coaster. Match made in heaven, you might think. But anyway, it's designed around
A wood mill.
A wood mill, sawmill, cutting up, we believe, German redwoods. And yeah, it's a nicely designed ride.
It is, yeah. Queue line's nicely themed, and when you get onto the ride, you go into kind of its first tunnel. There's a bit of a pre-show that plays, which essentially shows that something has gone wrong and there's an alarm. Literally, because there is a board that says alarm
flashing at you.
And it gives the idea that something's gone wrong, and therefore you are going to shoot out like a cannon. And you kind of don't, because you obviously go into the lift hill, but the first drop it does, makes up for it, because
it's
that
just-
first drop is a bit like whoa.
Yeah, it's quite
fun.
it's a little sharp pre-drop before you go onto the lift hill. And then after that, it's a nice winding layout. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it at all. It is somewhat comfortable, somewhat uncomfortable,
Yeah.
as you would expect a wooden roller coaster to be. But quite bizarrely, it doesn't feel like a wooden roller coaster in that things are moving around and whatnot, because it feels like the roller coaster is almost too well put together. It's the trains that
Trains,
seem to be
yeah.
the issue, because it feels like the wheels
Yeah.
are square.
Yeah, the
So that's-
trains are a little bit on the jerky side, which in the one hand adds to its charm. On the other, you are sat there like I did off-ride and went, they look like Grand National trains. This is going to be a bit jerky.
Yeah.
And it was a bit jerky, to be fair. But it's not jerky enough that you're going to come off it and go, I'm not going to go do that again.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely fine. Hals-über-Kopf, I think that's how you pronounce that one. Anyway, yeah, Mammut was absolutely fine. Hopefully get some re-rides on it, because I think a back row would be quite interesting to see on that one. But that's
Yeah.
Mammut. And then standing right next to it, also by Gerstlauer, and this is Gerstlauer's first official roller coaster. What we call it? It's Sing to Sao, which there seems to be a bit of disparity on what that actually translates to. Some people say it translates to Roadhog, but according to Coasterpedia anyway, it seems to be a local Tripsdrill dialect.
Yeah.
There's something to do with being driven.
Yeah.
Um,
And the queue line's all themed up, and it's themed up like kind of winter sledding, and essentially sleds that were pulled by horses, which, given how hilly the region is around here, if it's covered in snow, probably in the 1800s, when horses and sleighs were a thing, you can see why they've called it like that and why they've stuck to the local heritage.
Yeah, yeah,
And
the train,
cars
the,
are
yeah,
really unique, because you get in, they actually do look like a sleigh. If you're a bit on the taller side like Dave, expect to be a bit squished, but if you're short side, you're gonna love this ride. There's plenty of leg room.
Yeah, it felt like they were with most train designs. You've got the wheels, the wheel bogies, and then the train carriage sits on top, and then there's probably a raised section and a seat. This really did feel like the seats
Yeah.
were bolted to the bogies,
Yeah.
because they're they're
They
close
are
to the floor.
quite low. Yeah.
It did. It's very similar to Cobra at Paulton's Park, but Cobra it feels a bit more sharp in the hairpin turns and a bit more uncomfortable. This was absolutely fine.
Yeah, you sat there going, oh, gentle side to side.
Yeah.
Gentle side to side.
And the helices
Yeah.
are a lot more forceful, but not so much so that it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, and as you're going in at the start of the queue line, it says you can experience forces of 3G. Now, granted, we did get off it and go, well, where was the 3G? kind of thing. But back when it was built, you'd have probably felt it a lot more, I think.
Well, you still do
Right.
feel 3G, because I mean, some of the big top thrill rides these days you get 4.95 Gs and stuff like that. So it probably does do that. It was just so well done. I don't really think that we noticed.
No, exactly, yeah.
But anyway, that's that one. That was Gerstlauer's first. And then the other one we got to talk about, which I didn't get the name of, but I'll put it along the bottom, is a technical park motorbike ride that, like we saw at Hansa Park, where you can control the swing in and out. Love these things. I love interactive flat rides. It means that you can swing in and out, leave it alone, do what you want. It's entirely up to you. The ride is yours to enjoy.
Yeah.
And these ones, when you rev the actual motorcycle, it makes a revving sound, and at the point that it swings out as well. I don't know why, it kind of reminds me of Hagrid's motorbike.
Yeah, it was a proper motorbike sidecar for all intents and purposes. Both people in the car have a horn, so you can all both play around with the horn. But if you're on the motorbike side, you're revving it up, and obviously you're swinging out. But if you rev too much, then your little fuel gauge changes colour, and then it kind of dies down, and you don't get to go out until it's back up in the green again.
Yeah,
which I thought was really, really
and
good.
I do wonder if that's a sort of a technical feature of the ride, in that it's got something to do with the hydraulic systems or something like that. I don't know, but it's given it sort of a break so that you're not overheating it or something like that, and they've just steamed it in, which is pretty cool. So that's those two. Got the microphone. Two more to talk about, and you can see them in the background. There's obviously the ones that we were talking about in the previous one, which is Hals-über-Kopf and Volldampf, which translates to head over heels for the first one, and then the second one is full steam ahead, which makes sense because we'll talk about Volldampf first, which is a little Vekoma boomerang in the shape of a mine train, isn't it, or steam train?
It is, and it's in a lovely little theme station. The train itself has smoke coming out the funnel and the smokestack, which is really nice, and it makes a proper steam train sound as it's going up the hill as well. And it's quite a little speedy mine train, and boomerang, sorry. And unlike other boomerangs, which have an upward spike at the end, this one's, it curls over.
Yeah.
And there's no stops on the end of it. So if anyone was to ever speed that train up, it would go off a track.
Yeah, it's never going to do that, I think it's not going to do that. But what's interesting is that, as you can probably sort of see, it's set out very similar to how Emerald Park has their Vekoma suspended thrill coaster and boomerang.
Yeah.
And where the suspended thrill coaster goes through the boomerang station at Emerald Park, it's the other way around here.
Yeah.
Well, have a perfect little crossover. It's the boomerang goes through the suspended thrill coaster station here. Yeah. And to be fair, I do prefer Emerald Park's interpretation of it because it just feels a bit more fun. Whereas this one, you barely notice the boomerang going through the station, unfortunately, because it's just kind of hidden away.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I don't particularly like boomerangs because it's not really good for throughput, and you generally wait ages for them. But pretty much walk on. So that's that one. And then this Hals-über-Kopf. Now, this was one that I was really looking forward to, and part of the reason why I wanted to come to Tripsdrill in the first place, because having ridden Nafinia Force.
Yeah.
That was like, we need to do that. And that didn't disappoint at all.
No, it didn't. Considering this one is 5-6 years old nearly, it rides just as good as probably what it did on opening day. There were a couple of little jerks, but nothing major.
Yeah, it's just got a little bit of a judder, but it's really, really unnoticeable unless you're looking for it. Because I was. Yeah. I know it sounds like I'm a coaster connoisseur or something like that, but I was looking for the smallest little things like, that's not that, But no, it's still really, really enjoyable. I don't know whether I prefer that on the Nafinia Force.
Yeah, I think this one for greenery is better than Nafinia Force because this has had 5 years. All the greenery's had a chance to grow in around it, and it's really nice to see how that's going to look like, and therefore know what Nafinia Force is probably going to look like in 5 years' time, and it'll look stunningly beautiful.
Stalks have also moved in as well, as we've seen. I don't think you can't see it at the moment, but a lot of the supports have got stalk nests on them.
Yeah.
When the train's going past, they don't move.
No, no, they are not bothered about the trains at all.
I can't recommend that enough. That is the right amount of thrill, excitement and comfort all in one. The restraints are very comfortable. They've got seat belts on them, so the seat, like you would have on Icon or on Nemesis, where you have to click it in, which is a bit weird because Nafinia Force doesn't have that. Yeah. But it probably is that they learned from this with the second generation one. I don't know. Yeah. That's those. So anyway, Volldampf and Hals-über-Kopf, great additions.
Yes.
Lovely little rides. This is not going to record well.
Drifting the ride.
This is a very peculiar ride. Seems like a wild mouse boat ride that's not a boat ride at all.
Yeah.
Weird. Quirky though, and now we're spinning. Oh, don't change Tripsdrill. Don't change.
No, we love the quirky.
Right, so the next one that we're going to talk about is Donna Balkan, which, if I just flip you around, is this one here, which is a pair of drop towers made by a company called Bear. Donna Balkan translates to Thunderbeam, and it seems to tell the story of a hermit that lives in the treetops. And the ride's themed around there's the hermit's house and his outhouse on two separate trees. And the ride vehicle seems to simulate like the dropping of trees
You
or
climb
logs.
in the trees and then essentially him getting up and down from his treehouse.
Yeah, or that's the impression we get anyway. Anyway, it's as I say, it's a pair of drop towers. It only does 3 drops: up, down, up, down, up, down. And I don't think it needs any more than that.
No, because on the third drop, what it does, a bit like Apocalypse used to at Drayton Manor, is it tilts you slightly, and it's not a gentle tilt either. It's quite a jerk for essentially a kid's ride, and then it drops you down when you've done the tilt.
Yeah, it only tilts probably not sort of like 5 degrees or so. It's not a major thing, but it is quite violent the way that it does it. So it makes you feel like you're doing a lot more than you actually are. You look from the ground, it looks worse than it actually is, but it does make it quite memorable after Tracy's done dying. But that's Donna Balkan. And then the other one that we've done is a little scenic boat ride. I'm just going to get the name up while Tracy talks about it.
Yes, so little boat ride, much like the Coast Guard HQ at Legoland, and essentially boats are slightly self-driving. You power them though, and you also steer them as well.
Yeah.
On the fronts and backs, you've got little water cannons. So if you've got, say, a family of you, a group of friends, you can potentially have a bit of a splash battle going on.
Yeah, looking at it on
good.
Coastpedia, it is classed as a splash battle. It's made by ABC Rides, and it's Spritzer for Seafarer, which is something along the lines of spitting for seafarers, which I can kind of understand where the literal translation comes from, because obviously it's a splash battle and it's a seafaring sort of themed ride.
Right.
But I don't think it actually means spitting for seafarers, because that sounds a bit silly.
Yeah.
But that's those two. The next one is Wilde Gausche, which means wild swing. And it's classified as a top spin, but it's kind of not.
No. Unlike your traditional top spins, which obviously go over at the top, this doesn't. So you go up and you swing, basically, and that's it.
It's just a swing, so it's a junior top spin, I suppose. Made by Art Engineering, the same people that did the new trains for Drayton Manor's the Wave Coaster. And yeah, it was all right.
I admit it was not my favourite type of ride. There was a little bit too much which I'm not a massive fan
Flicking
of
backwards
at
and
times.
forwards is what Tracy's tried to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is partly why I don't like top spins either. But yeah, it's well themed. It's in the
Same area with the two Vacomas, but I don't think it comes out of place. I suppose Hals-über-Kopf does kind of stand out between the two, because I've forgotten the name of the boomerang, but the boomerang is train themed. Volldampf, that's it, is train themed, and obviously Wild Swing is also train themed. It looks like a crane that's moving a train carriage around. So it does mean that Hal's kind of sticks out a little bit, because that one seems to be almost hotel based.
Yeah, it seems like a noisy pub tavern. You've gone out and got drunk, and then you essentially stepped onto a roller coaster. Is what we.
I suppose I never really thought about it like that, but yeah, the queue line and interior station of Hal's does look like a tavern sort of hotel.
Yeah.
So I suppose if you think about that, they probably all do go together. It's just that the themes aren't really stuck together.
No.
I don't know, but anyway, Wild Swing, pretty decent time. Nothing amazing, but good for a kid's first top spin. So that's that one. Junior Enterprise. Oh. Hello again.
Hello.
Couple more rides to update you on. First one being Alt Manamule, and then the second one is
Altfibermühle,
which literally translates to old man and old woman's mill. And even though they've got the similar name, they're both different
yeah.
sort of things. The old Alt Manamule is an explorer, so it's a
Series of wonky bridges.
that's the
It's
one. Yep.
like the world. It's like someone said, let's do a fun house here and only put the bridge bits in and some rolly bits and a wheel.
Yeah, it was
It's like-
perfectly fine.
Yeah.
For a little bit of a laugh. Tracy fell on her ass,
did.
which was a good bit of
Yeah,
fun.
there's going to be some resultant bruises from that, I feel.
Yeah, she was okay. You were okay.
I am
aren't you?
okay,
Yeah,
yes,
she's absolutely
yes.
fine. That's what bums are made for, isn't it?
Yeah.
And speaking of bums, the other one that we went on was
Was it?
Alt Webermühle, wasn't it?
Which was.
Is a dry slide set in a
Windmill.
windmill. And as you'd expect, you climb up to the top of the windmill with a Hessian sort of mat. That's the one, Hessian mat. And then there's a little timer at the top that shows you when to go and when to stop. It goes green, and then you just slide all the way down to the bottom. It's quite claustrophobic in ways, and the turns do look very tight. You do feel like, ooh, I'm an adult. Am I going to sort of
One
fly out?
turn.
But yeah, it was enjoyable. I was expecting something to go wrong, as you would do on a big plastic slide. But no, it was absolutely fine.
Yeah, and even though it's in a mill, it's not a really big climb, and because it's designed more for children, the stairs are a lot more gentle. So even as an adult, you find getting upstairs relatively easy.
Yeah, I'll give it that. It was the stairs were really, really long, but not particularly tall. So you're like, step up, rather than like you were climbing your stairs at home.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's those two.
Yeah.
Another roller coaster now, and this time it translates as racing centipede, and it is
Rasanda Tarzan Fusbla.
close enough. I'll just.
Rasender Tausendfüßler.
That's how Google says it. But yes, it's apparently racing centipede, and what it is it's a Tivoli, a Sierra Tivoli, very much like all the other ones that we've done, such as Treetops and Express, etc., etc. Though I do think I like this one the most.
Yes, it is. It's incredibly pretty. They've placed it well. They've got it in a couple of little, essentially a couple of little ponds, which they've put fountains in. And in the area it's in, along with where it is, it looks really, really pretty.
It's open enough so that you can see the track and that you can take photos of it as we do because we're nerds. But it's in its own sort of little area, so it doesn't feel like it's encroaching on other things or that it's being overshadowed by stuff. It's just pleasant.
And it's one of them rides where the ride op makes that ride. He was getting everyone going, they were clapping and singing something in German that we weren't too sure about.
Yeah,
but it was well enough that you could sit there and clap with them and be like, hey, 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 even if you didn't understand
exactly,
it.
you could get in there and enjoy it. And that's something that I'll just touch on onto that. The staff members here have been, it seems naturally pleasant. Let's just take, for example, we'd come off Karacho and we'd got our photos and we were in the fridge getting drinks. And all it was I was looking at the back of a drinks bottle, seeing if it had got sugar in it. And the lady comes over, and even though she didn't speak pretty much a word of English, she assumed that we were wanting cold drinks.
Yeah.
Because the fridge that we were in, I didn't even notice it because I don't really care for particularly cold drinks, but the fridge was off. And she went back into the sort of the other part of the shop, into the fridge that we're not allowed access to, got us 2 drinks out and said, here, basically in German, here's some cold ones. And it sort of served us like that. And then there was the lady in the shop as well. All the ride-ups have been, it hasn't felt like anybody's, been nice to us because they have to be. They've been nice to us because they want to be.
Yeah, exactly. And that has kind of made today. Even though this is a smaller park than Europa Park, there's been a few more people here that have spoken English.
Yeah. Sorry, land train's just going by. It has felt like the staff either speak German and English very well, or they're only German, and their name badges exactly the same as Europa Park. They have that on them. So it has. I felt the language barrier here has been lessened than what it was actually in Europa Park.
But even with the people we've interacted with today that haven't spoke any English, we've understood each other, which has been really, really good. Whereas at Rulantica, and
Europa
Park, there was still that language barrier of, oh, we would like this, even though at times you're kind of like, oh yeah, I'd like that one.
Yeah.
But there's been none of that here today.
No,
which
no.
has been really, really nice.
And yeah, like I said, learning a little bit of German when you come into German parks, learn a little bit of French when you come into French parks, Spanish to the Spanish parks, etc., etc., is going to go a long way.
Yeah.
Even if you use Google Translate. I mean, while I was at Europa Park the other day, I ordered a Coca-Cola, completely in German. Managed to get to the point where I was about to pay, and then we both translated over to English anyway. So. But yeah, everyone's been absolutely fine in terms of the staff. Next two are very identical, but
Completely different.
no. When we say that, what I mean is that they're the same sort of ride, but have got different sort of themes to them. So mine that I'm going to talk about is Sup and Sushi, which is soup bowl ride, whereas yours
is Weinkübelfahrt, which basically you're in a wine barrel instead.
And the premise behind these two is that they are essentially tracked spinning rides, but they spin on command essentially. They weave and around, and it's so difficult to talk about these because they're just so different to anything that I've ever experienced before.
Yeah, it's literally like the ride designers have sat there and gone, right, we've got this space, how can we make it twisty-turny and interesting for both rides and get it all in?
How
and
much
get
stuff
really
can we get into
ride.
this area? As explained, the soup bowl ride has got a roof over it, whereas the wine barrel hasn't. And the vehicles navigate a track like a car ride, but at certain points they will spin, and you can tell when they're going to spin because there's a little sort of metal
Sensor
piece
on
the floor. Train goes over it, a car goes over it, and it starts to spin. There's another one, it stops spinning. But they're so tightly compact, and they chuck you into the corners.
Yeah, the soup bowl one especially, that was quite fun. We weren't expecting a couple of the throws we got in on the corners on that.
Yeah, because
it was quite funny.
Wild Mouse can be very tight in terms of their turns, but this took the biscuit, you know.
And initially, when we first saw it this morning, we did think it was a water ride until we got up a bit closer and was like, oh, hang on, that's on a track.
Quite enjoyable though. And speaking of enjoyable, the last ride that we did of the day, now we don't know what the name of it is, but it's essentially a junior enterprise. Tracy's just getting it up now, and I don't know if we can say it.
Washkorb Rundflug.
Washkorb Rundflug, which I know that flug means fly, but in a nutshell, it's a junior enterprise. Sort of thing.
It's enterprise in kind of how it looks, how it acts. However, you're in open free swinging baskets underneath. So if you've got a mate that wants to do that, you could probably do that quite a bit with the carriages.
But other than that, there isn't any restraints, and there's no locks on the docks. There's no door. You just step into the ride vehicle.
It is a family ride.
It's designed for the younger kids. And I wouldn't say it's the most comfortable of rides. It's definitely not thrilling. But it's an introduction to spinning rides for kids. Lifts up. It's just pleasant. Like a lot of things at Tripsdrill, they've thought about their audiences. You've got big thrill rides for me and Tracy. Then you've got medium thrill rides for Tracy and obviously younger. And then you've got properly kids rides that we can't even go on.
Exactly.
There's a good mix of that.
There is, and like one of the other thing is they've got incredibly well themed toilets. I know, granted, this has been a recurring theme this holiday, but
now you mention it actually, because I know you mentioned about the ones at the start that are Dyson and board game themed, and then there was the toilets over by the boomerangs. They're train themed.
And the ones in the train theme genuinely looks like you're stepping into your own private carriage on a train. The board game ones, these are right at the front entrance. There's Ludo on the floor. There's cards on the toilet doors, but then on the ceilings they've got lights that are dominoes and dice, and they look really, really good.
So Before we waffle on too much, we're going to get finished up, and then we'll head back to the car and do a wrap up of Tripsdrill.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a fair bit to talk about. What we like, what we didn't like. Go from there, and we'll see you in the car.
And here we are in the car because it's a bit nippy outside now.
Yes, just to summarise, finish off Tripsdrill. So first thing we're going to talk about is merchandise, which I was not expecting to see anything really to call anything at all.
Yeah.
111 euros later, there is merchandise here that's worth having.
Yeah.
They've got what you'd expect. T-shirts, primarily for 2 or 3 of the big coasters. I mean, Mammut, Karacho, and Hals-über-Kopf all had T-shirts, didn't they? There was nothing for the little the little bobsled and any of the little rides. You did get a little bit for the boomerang, but it was more aimed at kids.
Yeah. And along with t-shirts, you can also get jogging bottoms and jogging tops as well for kids and adults, and also shorts as well, which was nice to see. So they've got something a bit different. Drawstring bags as well. Their drawstring bags did look pretty good. They did look waterproof inside, and they had nice thick chunky cords, and you noticed there was a zip
compartment on the back of them as well.
Wow.
So they're not. In terms of merchandise pricing, I think was about €25 for a t-shirt, 50 for a hoodie, and then there was all sorts of in between
essentially
things.
Pocket money toys as well, and sort of pocket money bits of merch, because they've got a park mascot here, and I've ended up with a park mascot, essentially Rubber Bath Ducky.
Yeah, was it Hugo?
Hugo, I think.
We think his name's Hugo. We've not really looked up. I will put it along the bottom just so you know.
But then you've got like pens, key rings, magnets. Only 1 pin badge though.
For Karacho. But they had a nice section of glasses as well, with a skyline of the actual park as well, which I like that. I like when parks take their own skyline and add it on rather than just just put a generic coaster in.
Yeah.
But merchandise was decent.
Yeah, and they also had mugs as well and double shot glasses, which was nice. But they've kind of got the vintage as well with the modern. A lot of their older sort of for the more Tripsdrill is a bit more on the traditional side, but that doesn't take away from it.
No.
So this is before they had their own puzzle and pairs game as well.
Yeah, they've put at least a little bit of thought into their merchandise.
Yeah.
It's not as expensive as it could be, but it's better than I was expecting. So you can't really complain. Food offerings are a bit limited, we found. I will preface this by saying we didn't look in the restaurant because we didn't. I didn't think we'd have time to have a proper sit down sort of food. So we were just using
got
the
at least 2 restaurants on site. There's one just past the main entrance as you come in, and there's one but below Karacho as well.
Yeah, but the grab and go options, it seemed to be a case that you could get sandwiches, of which one place was better than the other. The place that we went to in the end was, because we're not
Just
talked about our
past the
dinner,
entrance.
was just past the entrance, and we paid somewhere in the region about, I think it was €7.50
Yeah.
for a sandwich. I got mashed potato wrapped pastry, which doesn't sound particularly appetizing, but it was delicious, and a massive pretzel, where you got a
I got
sandwich
a sandwich and a spinach and feta
wrap
pastry stick.
pastries, and they were tasty.
Yeah.
When I say €7.50, not a problem. So yeah, the entrance sandwiches are better than the ones towards the back of the park. But if you're wanting something that's a bit more, substantial,
Yeah.
they seem to have, what was it,
They were doing
bratwurst and currywurst.
bratwurst and currywurst. There was also a place doing pizza slices as well, and the pizza slices were fairly chunky.
Yep.
That was kind of backup lunch if we hadn't found anything else.
Yep, and then there was a place that did burgers
Yeah. And then you've got your staple kind of burgers and chips, chicken nuggets and chips as well.
But that was about it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So there wasn't really anything, not special, but there wasn't anything different. But I can't really complain about the food that we did have.
No,
and it was, it was affordable.
It's reasonable.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the burger and chips meals, you were looking at, I think it was 11, 13, somewhere between 11 13 euros for your burger, chips, and a drink.
Yeah.
Which is a lot more reasonable than other places lately.
Yeah. So yeah, we can't really complain about the cost of food. It's just more options would be great.
Yeah.
Other than that, as we mentioned previously, staff have been absolutely fantastic, especially given the fact that you're recording on the rides and whatnot. They've been helpful and such. The staff were particularly nice with Karacho when you were having trouble getting on because they moved us around and things like that. So yeah, can't really complain about the staff. Things that we liked and didn't like. There's not much to dislike here.
I haven't found anything to dislike. The only thing that is that maybe a little niggle is the fact that we didn't realise the zoo is off site. So it's one of them. If you're coming here for the first time with a family, potentially planning 2 days so you can do the park properly, you can do the zoo properly. If you're kind of seasoned enthusiast or you come here regular, you know what you're doing, you'll probably only need maybe a day and a half at a push to get around it all.
Yeah, just for context on that one, we didn't really have a particularly, sort of efficient day, if you will. And we could have very easily been done for around about 3-4 o'clock. Which would have given enough time to have a wander around and see the animals.
Yeah.
But if we sped things up a bit, we could have been done for 2 o'clock, no problem. Got on the little land train, gone to the zoo, come back, and still been had time for your re-rides. So yeah, I do agree with you on that one. That I was expecting the animals to be very much like Emerald Park, actually, because these parks are very comparable. In that there's some animals here, there's a ride and some more animals. As for attractions, stand out for me, Karacho, Hals-über-Kopf, and Mammut. And even then, the Gersty bobsled. I really enjoyed that one. That one really did stand out.
Yeah, I like... Hang on, I can remember to pronounce it. Jensen Sao, which is the bobsled.
Yep.
I really like that one. It was proper comfortable and proper good. Hals-Kopf. Proper good, yeah.
Hals-über-Kopf.
That one. That one was really good. And to be fair, a couple of the little flat rides, like the little waltzer that were you're essentially a bread cake, that was fun this morning. That's been fun. The twisty soup bowl one today, that's been fun as well.
Yeah, it's not.
And then the tree one, the tree droppy tower. Didn't expect that at all.
Exactly. This is a park that's got quite a lot of sort of unique, not they're probably not unique rides, but the rides that I've never seen before. As I say, with like the Soup Bowl one, and such, like the little waltzer and things.
They've got unique takes on rides that a lot of other parks have got, and I think that makes them a bit more standy outy, and it shows that they've put thought into their rides, into the areas they're in, and the park overall is really, really pretty. And for the most part, it's flat. We've not come across any stairs today. So if you've got access issues, you're gonna love it here.
Yeah, a wheelchair will get round here. You might need to go up some hills, but there's nothing sort of major. So yeah, the last thing I'd like to mention, apart from the things that we didn't like, which there wasn't really much to dislike.
I didn't find anything.
Is a shout out to Swabian Coaster, who stopped us after we'd got off the Soup Bowl ride and said, "Are you YouTubers?" And I was like, kind of verbal.
Yeah, we had a lovely conversation.
Yeah. Sat and spoke to him for 10 minutes. He's a lovely guy. If you can follow him on YouTube, he sounds like he's only just starting out, but really, really nice guy. So yeah, thank you very much for stopping and talking to us and taking the photo. Yeah. It makes us feel sort of ecstatic that people want to talk to us. And this is the best thing about this hobby, is meeting new people, making new contacts and stuff like that, and just we're all united in our love of roller coasters. Exactly. So that's Tripsdrill.
Yep.
That's Tracy, and this is Dave. We are Loops and Lap Bars International, and thank you very much for watching us waffle on about Tripsdrill.
Exactly.
See you in the next one.
Bye.